It's an absolutely beautiful afternoon in an equally beautiful location. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sonoma Raceway in California wine country. It's Pirelli GT4 America's sprint race action about to unfold. First race of the doubleheader weekend. 8th round of the championship is about to unfold. Greg Creamer along with Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine down in the pits. And Cal, when we come in here, what we've seen this season, I think, is the best racing of all the categories that this series is running this year, and it's reflected in an incredibly close points battle.
It's been immense. I mean, the racing has just been superb. Multiple winners, of course, but when you came into this championship season, you said, are there any favorites in the crowd? You'd have to say Spencer Pumpelly, Ian James, Michael Cooper would be the three you'd pick out based on their speed and experience. And right now we see them at the top of the table. We also see them at the top of the qualifying heap as well. So this should be a fantastic battle once again here today.
Yeah, separated by only 8 points after 7 rounds in the championship. 2 weeks ago, CTMP, Mosport in Canada. Couldn't be a more different venue that they have to deal with today. Huge challenge here.
Well, huge challenge, both high commitment racetracks, but with CTMP, you need straightaway speed. If you're going to get that win and get to the front of the pack, you had to have straightaway speed. Here, it's different. It's all about handling. It's all about grip and maintaining that grip around this racetrack. There you look at it, 2.4 miles in length, 12 turns, starts immediately with high commitment corner, turn one, the big bump there. Then very technical, lots of elevation change. That really adds to the immense challenges of this racetrack. And then it's going to be about that long green flag run. 50-minute race. If we don't see caution, drivers will literally be hanging on at the end of this race.
Yeah, massive tire deg that we're hearing. Low grip to start with, but really tough on the tires. Possible that the race winner here is going to be somebody who can exercise self-discipline, run a few seconds slower than they might be capable of, and have something at the end?
Well, you have to be ready in case there's a reset with a full course yellow. So you can't afford to burn the tires off and just be hanging on. And then you've got guys in much stronger positions. So it's a bit like saving fuel. When your engineers say save fuel in an endurance race, you can't wait too long into the stint to do it. You got to start immediately. And I think the same with tire life here today.
And of course, the driver leading in the points coming in is Spencer Pumpelly. He drives for the Racers Group, and the owner is Kevin Buckler. Ryan?
Yeah, Kevin's a busy guy this weekend. You got the fire suit on now. You'll be racing later in Sprint X. You just had one of the classic cars on track a few moments ago. This event here in Sonoma, this is huge for your team.
It is. It's our home track. It's where I started racing first in the beginning professionally, but we have such an good ability to activate around stuff with our clients and friends here in the wine country. You know, we're building our new facility with Adobe Road. Our new racing series launch of the new brand was last night at the shop with a bunch of you guys all there. It's so nice. We brought together all the different teams and owners, very non-denominational, very PC, but you know, kind of like a big company softball game. Everybody together having some fun. It looks like it's going to be a great race today. I love being here. Yeah, I just had a bunch of guests on track just now, and actually, I had to do a little. I had to make a little decision. My good clients and racers, Dr. Rappaport and Derek DeBoer, got into a little accident yesterday, and they couldn't get the car fixed for today. So I stepped out of my car today, and they're driving. So they got a lot of friends and guests here, and I'm cool with it. So it's all good. So.
And you still got on track a few moments ago. Quickly, what are Spencer's chances starting third here?
Yeah, you know, I know he wanted to be up front. We're all surprised how fast these cars go in the morning, and good air, good tires and stuff. It's hard to pass here, so that's the challenge. And so I don't think any of us have any big horsepower advantages. Maybe, you know, we'll see how the turbo cars run. So he's really good, and all the guys at the front of the grid are strong and all the different marks. So it's just hard to pass. For everyone watching outside, watch for the passes and hopefully no carnage.
Thank you, Kevin.
You bet. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, it was a great evening that he put on last night, and he's just so passionate about all of this. His wines, his motorsport, and it's a great pairing to be sure. There is a look at it. Big story, Cal. Michael Cooper, first pole of the year.
Yeah, and I think it really is an immense moment for that team to finally find the speed in that McLaren. Michael's done a great job of being patient with the fact they haven't had the pace all season long, but keeps building good point scores at each round, and he's very effective in the championship.
Gap there to Spencer's right, left of the screen, should be Matt Brabham in the Porsche Cayman GT4 from CRP Racing. Not there, apparent problem. Then Shane Lewis, and then Drew Stavely there in the number 12 pole sitter in the AM category. He has been up on the wheel all weekend.
He really has, and the fact of the matter is that this man, Jared Andretti, that you're looking at on screen now in the Endurance McLaren, he got bumped because of his tremendous performances early season up to the pro category.
And then we go back one more row here. Alan Brynjolfsson, always fast, second in the AM category with Gar Robinson. At one point was tied for the lead in the points, but has drifted backward just a little bit. Then Tony Gaples, third place qualifying effort. He's not known as a great qualifier, and he put in a superb lap today. He always makes some passes. He might be in the hunt for one here.
Yeah, we talked about with Cooper on the pole. They've certainly found the pace in that McLaren. It's well suited to this racetrack, and Tony loves this circuit.
And they're the number 30, qualified 13th, Erin Vogel. This is her, not only her racing debut in this series, it's her pro racing debut. She's done some Pirelli Trophy West competition with the Flying Lizard team, and they said, you know, this is her home track. She knows it. She's been pretty quick. Look at where she qualified for a debutante. That's not bad at all, and looking forward to seeing what she can do today. They're very confident.
It's an immense performance. I mean, I think to jump into this league and qualify middle of the pack, that was really a great run for Erin today, and a lot of experience on that team. They'll certainly be guiding her well.
Getting a report now that the number 20, there it is, the Carlisle Headstrong entry, just was late to the grid, and so the question is going to be, there are certain time minute, counts that if you miss, will he be allowed to take that fourth starting spot, or will he have to start at the back? The officials will let us know here in just a couple of minutes. This is sprint racing, one driver, 50 minutes, and no stops. And again, on this track, management is every bit as important as pace.
It is, and it will start right at the beginning. You're certainly going to be wringing every ounce of the tire for the first lap or two, and then settle in, and then just try to manage it. It's all about feel, recognizing if you've got an imbalance in the car, not overdrive the front end if you've got understeer, not overdrive the rear tires coming off the corner if it's a little bit loose. But even if you've got good balance, Greg, you just gradually lose the performance of grip, the percentage of grip, and you may feel the car's working well, you're driving well, you're hitting all your marks, but you look down and the lap time just seems to deteriorate like the tire does.
And that first couple of shots, including this one now, showing you the elevation here if you're not familiar with Sonoma Raceway. Huge climb from turn 1 up into 2, big bump, wickedly fast sequence of corners up through the double apex 1 almost. Open over the rise in 2, then you do it again up and over 3A, then you fall down the hill into 5 here from 4, and then this long corner, the carousel. I mean, the elevation change here is not only significant, it's abrupt, and a lot of apexes right at the top of those rises.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's a few big bumps to deal with as well, which the GT4 machinery has to really try and navigate around, because these cars are relatively stiffly sprung, so it will unsettle those cars.
Unique layout for the hairpin area. This hasn't been run before for this championship.
You can see it there as kind of a curve into the brake zone, and then kind of runs all the way around that curbing. And on the exit there, off of turn 7, right there where we see the crossbow and Alan Brynjolfsson in that bright yellow Volt Racing Porsche, the curbing has been breaking up over the course of the week, so drivers will be very conscious of that. Not damage any tires.
Yeah, and then right here, the old layout, you'd peel to the right through turn 9 here. Now they go straight into the chicane, creates a little extra overtaking area. You heard Kevin talk about it's a tough place to pass. That creates another opportunity. But then running the original layout for the hairpin here, the long, long run up into turn 11, not the little shortcut that has been used on occasion in the past. And the Acura NSX, the official safety vehicle, makes his move into pit lane. We're ready to go racing. And Michael Cooper on the right of your screen, the Black Dog McLaren with Ian James in the red, white, and blue Panos Avezzano GT alongside.
Two very experienced heads on the front row.
Brabham did have to start at the back, could not regain his spot, so there's an open position. See how it plays out. Oh, green flag flies, and Cooper timed that one to perfection. Got the jump, and look at the move here. Stavely trying to go right around the outside of Shane Lewis.
Yeah, that's really tight there on relatively cold tires. Oh, there may have been a little touch there between the Mustang and the Camaro, and then Jared Andretti once again a demonic start there. Up into the top 5 with the Endurance McLaren.
Canadian sweeping the outside as well in the black crossbow. And then, deep on the brakes, Brynjolfsson and the Volt Lighting. Mark Place Porsche sneaks down underneath, gets that spot back from Gaples, and a spin for Frank Gannett.
Yeah, spin there, and there you saw Gar Robinson trying to take advantage with Brynjolfsson's move down into the turn 4 brake zone on Gaples.
It's the bottom of the carousel, that long downhill turn 6. Now the run, first time in anger, up into turn 7. And Cooper's got himself a nice little margin. He's wasting no time, Cal, but look at the battle back here. I think that is Henry Schmidt trying to do an outside move on Robinson.
Yeah, Guy Robinson tried to make a move on Tony, which must have been thwarted, and that dropped him further back into this angry little pack.
Things settling here now just a bit. You just see the McLaren of Andretti, the orange and white nose, sitting in that 5th spot, as you mentioned. And Shane Lewis, Galgani just dropping his tires at the exit of the chicane, trying to stay with this group. You would think that that crossbow, as this race unfolds, lightweight, not as torquey as some of the other cars, that the tires might be a little stronger.
A little sideways there from Brynjolfsson into the brake zone, just finishing off the brakes, just had a little bit too much weight on the front, had to catch it. Got great car control, but allows Tony Gaples to get a run on him. Remember, there's not a lot of love lost between these two drivers as Tony makes that move to the inside. Nice clean move. Alan gives it to him. They had contact at St. Petersburg, and Tony wasn't happy about it. But nice move there. We look at the initial start.
Stavely working the outside.
It's really tight there as they come up into turn 2. I'm not sure if there's a little touch there. It might have been right fender on Lewis to the left side of Stavely, and that allows Jared Andretti to get a run.
Yeah, if anything, it was flush, wasn't it? It wasn't anything too intense. And then you can see the Gaples and Elganian run as well. And then this moment, oh, that's why. Yeah, got into the side. Vogel, I think, actually.
Okay.
On the, yeah, the 30 of Vogel. That tap, it just obviously loaded the nose, and around he went. Speaking of around and going here, through 7, once again, Cooper.
It's good to see Frank Gannett, though. He's got racy, hasn't he? The last couple of weekends, he's starting to feel the confidence. I think that Sprint X round that he did at CTMP, where they finished on the podium, he and Whitmer, really was giving him some oats to work with.
Well, you know, and he closed the door on a couple of those drivers up in turn 8. That's outside move in 8. I think he was, you know, realizing, you know what, I can, you know, this car sticks. I can make it work. And yeah, it was great fun to watch for sure. Interesting to see here. Last time by, Cooper had pulled a 1.2-second lead over James. See if he's been able to stretch that margin a little bit. Watching Brabham in that light blue, all blue, light blue Porsche, he's making up some ground.
Yeah, it's a shame after a great qualifying run. They missed the first session yesterday, still working on the setup pad with the race car. Then he went out and was fastest in the practice session, laid down a great qualifying lap. We're not sure what happened for them to miss the pre-grid cutoff time, but now he's got a lot of work to do. And as Kevin Buckler said, who knows the racetrack very well, not the easiest place to make passes.
And he's working on Burton right now, trying to figure out a way through. That would put him up into 13th overall. Burton, of course, driving Reardon Racing, and he gets coaching help from a guy named Kozarov, who's pretty savvy. And Burton has really stepped up, it seems, this year as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talent in this field, both at the front with the experienced guys and some of the Pro-Am drivers as well. And you just get that little bit of confidence, and then you just realize that you can do it. You start to get the belief.
Turn 6, and you see it just falls away all the way down the run. Brabham getting a little bit of a run here. See if he can get up and underneath Burton into turn 7. Goes in deep, gets it done, and does it well enough that he doesn't run up into the back of Sean Quinlan.
Yeah, just nice promo. I mean, Matty Brabs is one of the best young driver who kind of slipped through the net of the single-seater ranks, but you know he's going to be able to just be patient here and carve his way through this field.
See if he's got anything here. Quinlan sensed him coming, defends a little bit. Ooh, Schmidt running a little wide. It's going to pack everybody up on the exit. Schmidt in that white BMW San Francisco Cameron Racing entry right there, the 88.
Big weekend for him and Steve Cameron Racing, locally based. He owns the BMW dealership down in San Francisco, as you mentioned. So that little stack up really cost Matty Brabs the opportunity to set up for a run down in the 11 hairpin as Burton runs a little bit wide there.
Quinlan trying to work over his teammate here, both running for the out of the Stephen Cameron Racing camp.
There's that big bump there as you climb the hill, really unsettles the car. Ooh, big understeer there coming off of turn 2. Quinlan gets a run.
Brab's going to try and follow him. Does he get to the outside? He does. Schmidt gives it to him.
Good racing.
Yeah, very clean.
He made a little mistake there, Henry, but recognized it. Tried to fight it, but didn't get too crazy. To survive another lap here.
Up front, the margin has remained virtually unchanged. Cooper to James, 1.2.
Well, I think it's all going to be about time management at the front of the pack. So much experience there. No one's going to be pushing too hard. As we said, it's a bit like an engineer telling you to save fuel. If you've got to save tires, you can't save them at the end of the race. You need to save them right from the beginning. But I think with about 10, 15 minutes to go, I think we'll see a different complexion in terms of the dynamic with the leaders.
Oh, Brab trying to tuck down underneath Quinlan here in 7. He knows he's quick. He had that 4th place qualifying effort. When you're stuck in traffic, he's just watching that group up front check out.
Came in really quick there through the S's. Is he close enough to dive to the inside up front? Cooper remains with a nice, about a second gap. Looks like Ian may be a little bit closer on this lap.
It's turn 12, last turn onto the front straight. Cooper thus far, best lap of the race at a 46.5. But this time James faster by a couple of tenths, and you're right, Cal, the margin down from 1.2 to 1 even.
McLaren looks really good through that section. There's a big compression there with a little bump which can really unsettle the rear end of the cars. We were watching up there yesterday in the practice session, Greg. You can see how demanding it is from the tails away shot.
Had a nice chat with Ray Sorensen at Black Dog, and he said, we just haven't really hit that sweet spot in the chassis yet. He said, the potential's there. He said, keep in mind this car also has a lot more street aids on it as opposed to more adjustable aids, so we have to be careful with that because you can get the other car to get angry with you, is how he put it. But clearly in testing, they've honed in on that sweet spot a little bit, and then you put Michael Cooper, who's just something special at this track behind the wheel.
Yeah, and as we said in qualifying earlier in the day, Greg, what I've been impressed with Michael is, A, he loves this racetrack, so he comes in here with a lot of confidence. He's won in GT, he's won in GTS, and he's won in touring cars, so he loves this racetrack. But, you know, earlier in the year, he would have been frustrated that their team wasn't the fastest McLaren runner. But he didn't get frustrated by that to the point where he's overdriving the car or asking too much and making rash moves. He just continued to build points, comes into this round of the championship in 3rd, has the pole, has the lead. And it was after this race where Ray Sorensen told me a couple of months ago, that's what we're focused on. We're focused on the mid-season break, and then we can really go to work and come back strong for the second half of the year. So they're building. They're a championship winning team, and they're doing it right once again.
Now they have more wins in the GTS/GT4 category than any other team. So yeah, the experience level there is second to none for sure. And it's just interesting to me that you've got the points order of Pumpelly, James, and Cooper inverted at the front. If it stays like this, that points championship is going to be unbelievably close. I mean, it's only 8 first to third right now. Boy, Spencer is pushing it, isn't he? Or maybe he's not pushing it, he's just trying to float speed and not take a lot out of the tires, so he's using every bit of the racetrack and even more.
He is certainly a master as we now look at this little battle. It is heating up. Gar Robinson, currently 10th overall, 7th in the pro class, leads Quinlan, who's having a monumental run here, chased by Matty Brabs.
As we're watching Brabs, let's get down to the, whoa, Quinlan nice. A move. Yeah, that's on Gar Robinson.
Beautiful.
Oh, and then they touch. Oh. That's going to be big. Robinson around, but Quinlan off.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Sean tried to move over on him a little bit. Certainly contact between the right rear of Robinson and the left rear of Sean, and that just turns him immediately hard into the wall after what had been a brilliant start to this race.
Yeah, that's such a shame. He was having a great race. He's shown really good speed. Obviously, this is a track that he knows well, and unfortunate to see this unfold as the double yellows fly. As we're under this caution, let's quickly get down to pit lane, as I think Ryan has caught up with Nick Short of CRP.
Yes, and Nick sighing a bit of a sigh of relief here because Matt was right there, right behind that, and evidently it was pretty close, but he was able to sneak through, so that's the good news. Also good, having you and CRP back on track. Well, great to have you back here and to see you running so quickly as well.
Yeah, we're enjoying this GT4 format. It's pretty good. It fits for us. We had this car It belonged to Dave Roberts, and we had it in the shop, and we decided to run it for a couple of races under Headstrong. And because we support, Carlisle supports Headstrong. So, and Headstrong helps the military when they come back from war. So we're really happy with that. And, you know, we're happy with this Porsche. I should have gone to Porsches a long time ago.
And the driver, too, you got to be pretty happy with. Matt doesn't have a lot of sports car racing experience, but he's been a quick study.
Oh, Matt's great. He has been a quick study. He's very laid back, easygoing, and he's extremely fast. And, you know, Michael Cooper said he was punching above his weight. I think we're punching above our weight with this car, but he's doing a great job.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, no problem.
I did check in with Nick just before chatting with him there, and the story is that, yes, they were late to pre-grid. At least that's what they were told. They have a slightly different version of events, as you would expect. I'm sure that will be dealt with post-race. But a solid start here for Matt Brabham.
Yeah, I mean, really good speed. And, that's the good news, is the number 19 of Quinlan able to drive off under his own power, but now comes to a stop, so there might be more wrong. But you never want to see a competitor have an incident, but another bit of good news for Nick Short is this caution, because with the speed Brabham was showing, that big deficit now, he's going to be a lot closer to the sharp end of things.
Well, it's ideal when you're on the back foot and you have poor starting position. You just want to be able to make some ground, get a reset. Ideally, like to maybe grab another handful of positions, then get another one. So see the damage there predominantly on the left-hand side of that BMW. A bit of a shame as we looked at it in replay. And I think Sean could have probably pinched over to the right-hand side. He basically had Gar cleared, and Gar was on the outside. He's all over the curb, so unless he drove in the dirt to make more room for him, that was the only way that Gar could have avoided contact. So just an unfortunate situation. Bit of a racing moment, as I call it, but both drivers could have given each other a little bit more room.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, that turn, once you make that turn into 4, I mean, it's off camber, isn't it? It just falls away. And I think, you know, Sean maybe with the speed he was carrying just couldn't get the car back and keep it a little tucked more right. And, yeah, unfortunate. There's the teammate to Gar, the 72, is Shane Lewis, who sits in the 6th spot right now. It's still Cooper, James, and Pumpelly. Then in 4th overall, the number 12, the Mustang from G3 and Ian Lacey Racing, Drew Stavely. And then Andretti and Lewis. There's a look at Frank Gannett, who had that spin early. This is going to help him to get up to the back of the field. I think the car he's right behind here, that white entry from Erden Racing, is Dmitry Novikov, who had one start earlier in the year in this championship. Hasn't run a lot with the season, but ran at VIR and apparently enjoyed it. Wanted to come back and do it again here.
Good news for Sean and for Stephen Cameron and the rest of that crew is that the car was driving off, so
yes.
I'm sure it's got a lot of body work to be attended to tonight in preparation for the 2nd round of the championship this weekend tomorrow. Big question will be the suspension as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The fact that he was driving it under its own power, at first blush you would think, well, that's good news. Maybe he didn't get too deep into the chassis. There's another look at it here, Cal.
You can see Garley struggling for grip on the exit of 3A. Sean does a nice move, gets right down there, then just goes back to power, but uses pretty much all of the road.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't realize that Gar is hanging to his left flank there. And then it just, that pivotal moment, literally, yeah. he gets turned.
Looking here, it doesn't look like any real significant damage to Gar's machine here. Obviously, 50 minutes, there's no pit stops, driver changes, and the clock continues to run under caution here. So hopefully they'll be able to get the Quinlan BMW.
Pumpelly, and we talked about right from the get-go tire management, he dropped back quite a ways from Cooper and James, so obviously that will now be erased when we go back to green, but I'm curious to know whether it's he was managing that. As you said, he was using all of the road and some, so whether he's just trying to give the car its head so he doesn't scrub the tires any more than he needed to, that will be the big question mark here. If he's in good shape or whether he's already struggling. He told me last night when we were at Kevin's get-together that he said the lap time just plummets. We lost 2 seconds over the course of 2 to 3 laps from fresh sticker tires. So he said it's hard to believe, but it literally hits a cliff. And it's just down to the abrasive nature of this racetrack. It's an old racing surface, doesn't deliver much grip, and you're just sliding across the top. And it just really wears on those tires. A lot warmer today as well than yesterday. So, of course, in terms of this weekend, unique track conditions for these competitors.
A lot of them have said that when you look at the track up close, that the aggregate in the asphalt, the compounding that would normally seal that and make it level is kind of worn away. So it's like you're running over the top of this aggregate, and obviously that just diminishes the grip immensely. And then we talked about it, you hit these black patches, which are much more compact, and they said the grip there is huge, and so they it makes for interesting moments when you are doing those transitions. Again, from pole, Cooper had a really strong race going. Ryan, I'm sure Ray Sorensen is both delighted and relieved.
Yeah, but it's a bit of a mixed bag to see this yellow. You had a big gap, but it probably does help with the tire management side of things. What does this yellow do for Michael and Tony?
Well, I think that does the same thing for everybody, kind of. So I don't know if it's a really big advantage for us. I'd kind of prefer to take the gap over the yellow, but that's just what happens, and so I think we'll be okay. But just have to see how it comes up.
It seems like the car is really coming into its own here at Sonoma relative to some of the other stops so far in the calendar. What have Michael and Tony been saying about the McLaren so far this weekend?
Well, typically with this racetrack's kind of a low grip kind of a place, so I thought we might struggle a little bit with it, but the cars have been reactive to what we've been changing, so hopefully we'll be able to stay where we're at.
Has Michael said much about his race car early on?
No, not so far.
It's probably a good sign.
Quiet is good, yeah, we'll take it.
All right, thank you, Ray.
Yeah, I like that. Quiet is good. And when Michael's in the zone, he is as good as anybody. There's no question. Was it 2017 last time we raced here in the GT category? He swept the weekend in the Cadillac. I mean, he's that good, and he and this track are like a glove.
Yes, and McLaren factory driver, he put the deal together over the winter for he to be associated with that brand, and brought the program to Black Dog. So it was a big switch. I mean, Black Dog, so much success with the GM manufacturer over the years. So it's early days, but certainly the signs are starting to look very, very positive.
I think I mean, obviously he'd run in GTS with Black Dog previously, knew the quality of that team, and said this would be a good place for this McLaren program to be. And it's coming to fruition, and they've done it the right way. They when they didn't have a car that they felt could run at the front, Michael would have these amazing opening laps, get up there, and then just hang on and earn points. And it's paying off now, isn't it?
They just have such a tight-knit group there. So many of their crews have been together for a long, long time. Ray's obviously top-notch. Mark Wider has been working with them on the engineering side. He was there when Cooper won the championship with the team. I'm not sure if he's here this weekend. I think it's on a somewhat limited availability basis, but it's just a good nucleus, and it's all about chemistry. I mean, this is very much a team sport. Yes, the driver's out there trying to get the win, but it's all about the group behind you and how you gel and how you work together.
And speaking of that team, just to get down the order a little bit, sitting 8th overall, but 2nd in the AM class is Tony Gaples. And we had looked at, qualified 3rd, thought he might be in for a good run today, and he has lived up to the billing, really putting it together. Another guy who just loves this track. You mentioned Sonoma Raceway, and that grin spreads across his face. And I think it was in 2005 here, he had a 2nd overall finish, and when he was driving a Corvette, the GT category. He just has always excelled here.
He has, but remember his last visit here didn't end up.
Well, that's a good point.
Visit to the hospital.
Yep.
Came the bank with his arm in a sling.
And then he sits right in front of the 7 of Brynjolfsson in that bright yellow Volt Lighting Park Place entry, who sits 3rd in the AM category at this stage. All right, safety car is in. We're going back to green. There is Drew Stavely, your AM leader. But Michael Cooper and the Black Dog McLaren leads them to the green flag. And wow, did he get a jump?
Yeah, Ian James doesn't get schooled very often, but he just got schooled on a restart there by Michael.
Yes, he did. He was 0.8 by the time they crossed the line on the start. Now we'll keep an eye in the back. Look at that blue Porsche.
Gaples up on the tail of the crossbow again, but through this little section here is where that crossbow is really strong. Brynjolfsson now under attack from Matty Brabs behind him. Jared Andretti, something happened to him on this restart. Oh no, there he is, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. I've been watching as well, and Mark Clennan's number 62, the premier copier McLaren's got a similar graphic scheme to it.
That's what caught me out.
It's caught
it
me
was
out.
Jared's car right
All
there.
right, here comes Brabham down to the inside of Brynjolfsson. Nice.
Nice move there, but it was a little busier than the previous move he made down there. So Alan's not easy to get by. He's always up on the wheel. His crew chief, Michael Johnson, is actually not here today. He was here earlier in the weekend, but this is a race that Alan did not anticipate being at. And Michael's wife Cheryl is celebrating her birthday this weekend. They had a big party planned for tonight, so he said, I'll be there for the practice and qualifying and all practice days and testing, and then I got to leave. And I think there's also the fact that his St. Louis hockey team are in the finals. I think they're up now 3-2 with a
that's a really good point.
big game tomorrow night in St. Louis.
Some extra incentive.
Have to keep Michael away from that.
Yeah, I'm doing a great job. You know, talking about, you know, the older version of the Cayman, and you know, there's no doubt on certain tracks that it just doesn't have the pace of the 718. But on this track, where one, top end isn't everything, and two, torque can just obviously take its toll on tires. We've seen both of the cars that are running here in that category have been quick.
Yeah, they have been quick, and I think it just comes down to you're not losing so much down the straightaways, which there's not much off here. So it comes down to car, handling-wise, grip-wise, and then the driver can make a big difference. So I think it was a good choice for CRP and Nick Short to be back here in the paddock this weekend, pulling the car out the old cobweb, so to speak, and giving it another go.
Good look here at Nikolai Alganian, who had that first career pro category win at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park at the previous doubleheader event of the championship, and an immense duel with Spencer Pumpelly. It was just fabulous. And this is a track that they were really looking forward to getting to. Obviously, they're based out in this part of the country, and he's just really been awfully impressive this year.
Well, I think the key to that car is the balance of performance, and after the success that they had at Canada, and with this configuration or categorization of racetrack, it takes a big hit with a lot more weight. It's got 65 kilos more weight, 140 plus pounds on that car. And talking to the team, I felt, you know, coming in and getting prepped for this race, that car's going to be really quick here. It's all about handling and cornering speed and apex speed. But talking to the team, they said it's really kind of nipped its performance quite considerably here. But he's still doing a great job. He's up there in the top 7 right now.
Absolutely, and as we watch Brabham now attacking on Gaples after the incident for Gar Robinson in the number 74 car when he got gathered up with Quinlan. Ryan has found Jimmy Frazier of the 74 Ranch team.
Yes, so let's try and get a little information about that incident. We saw it earlier with Gar getting tangled up with Sean Quinlan. What have you heard from Gar about the incident and the state of the car after the contact?
The car's okay. They didn't even flat spot him, and actually he can hear us, but we can't hear him. So we're having him flash the lights if he acknowledges. But from TV, it just kind of looks that BMW came across the front of him, and he just tried to maintain his position.
So he's been able to make a little bit of progress again. What do you think he can achieve given the setback?
I hope he's got a better race lap right now than Shane, I believe, and that's what we're just shooting for, a good finish for a good start tomorrow.
Do you guys practice having the light flashing as a backup plan just in case something goes wrong with the radios?
Yeah, we've done that in the past, but and it's been fine until the start of this race all week, so I go figure, that's racing.
Hey, at least you're prepared. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Here's a look at the 74 Gar Robinson, who's back in the order just a little bit. We saw Brabham make that pass on Gaples and get through, and we also just saw a great move by Frank Gannett sneaking around the number 2 of Jason Bell as well. So Gannett, after that early spin, he's up on the wheel. Is that Reardon? The Reardon entry of Burton, maybe?
It was Burton there.
Yeah.
sure if he was just pulling off or whether he did, in fact, overshot his braking point. And I think Jimmy Fraser's been around a long time. I think that's all based on how he set up that radio. It's one-way communication. Doesn't want to hear the drivers complaining.
Here's what you need to do. Flash if it's okay. That works. Oh, Brab's getting a huge run here, didn't he?
Yeah, he's got a different animal to deal with that crossbow, though, because that can flow speed.
Nikolai now knows he's there. This is the part of the track, as you said, where that crossbow is going to be pretty strong. Here's the pass that Brabham put on Gaples.
I think it just surprised Tony a little bit, because Tony was looking at the inside of Nikolai as they came up the straightaway. The McLaren's got a bit more straightaway speed as they turned into 2-1. He was looking for the inside, realized he couldn't make it, and then nice move by Matty Brabs. They're just sliding underneath Tony into the apex for turn 2.
Now down the hill, turn 6. Cooper's margin at the front, only a half second now over James as we're into the final half of this race. Pumpelly, though, a couple of seconds adrift to those guys. And again, you've just got to wonder if he's not just protecting tires to have something later on. Stavely still 4th overall. Real impressive run for Drew here.
It really is. And again, I think that's the biggest question mark in my mind is what does Pumpelly have underneath? I think Ian James is managing, and he's keeping Cooper in sight, and I expect him to ramp up the intensity and the pressure here in the later going. But for Pumpelly, I'm not quite sure. I think he may be struggling for grip a little bit already.
One thing we've seen, I mean, it's sort of the MO of this Panos Avezzano GT to be stronger later in the race relative to some of the other cars, isn't it? It just always seems to work that way.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a friend of Ian's. I've known him for a long, long time, but I've been so impressed over his whole career, but particularly the last couple of seasons. His racecraft is just immense. I mean, he just knows where everyone's at. He drives well. He's so smart and savvy. He just puts in, he maximizes the results, I feel, every weekend.
Yeah, I think probably the best display of that was Portland last year when he schooled Mr. Gottsacker.
Yeah.
And Harry responded the next race and said, I learned it, I'm not going to fall for it again. But it was just, took him right to school here. And again, Stavely, right there, having a solid run in the AM category, 4th overall.
Those fast laps, Cooper has the fast lap, which will give him pole for tomorrow if he maintains that, which we anticipate as the lap times are gradually falling away throughout the course of this race. So they were set very early in the first couple of 3 laps. So typically you see people just trying to find a gap and then lay one down. I'm not sure it's going to be the same situation today. You need to get that fast lap in early in this race to set your grid for tomorrow.
Drew in that 4th spot. I'm sure he'd love to be up in an overall podium position in 3rd, but he's got a number of cars between himself and 2nd place in class. Gaples, Drew's 4th, Gaples 9th in the overall order. So how hard are you going to push? And then looks like Shane Lewis is starting to put some pressure on Andretti right behind this duo. There they are.
Okay, another racetrack that Jared Andretti has not visited before, so big learning curve this year, but he's been up to the task. Just drives very, very well, gets up on the wheel early, typically makes moves on the opening lap, does not succumb to pressure easily.
Oh, and here comes Brabham now. Same sort of a run he had on Gaples, just gets it done a little earlier, Cal.
Yeah, and as you can see, the crossbow just really struggles in the straight line department. So, but right here, he's going to float big speed up through there. Nikolai, beautiful drift through turn 1. He loves his racing, big smile on his face typically.
Gentleman that he reminds us of had a pretty good day so far in Montreal, didn't he?
That's right, and I saw him this morning, and he was well, not cool, but sun wasn't out and about, and he had this sort of newfie looking black and white, black and red checkered jacket. I said, oh, it's paying homage to our man Daniel Ricciardo, who's competing in Canada this weekend.
Look at this run by Lewis on Andretti. He really had the run, and Andretti just stayed right long enough.
Yeah, and that was smart by Shank. So there could have been a big touch there at the critical moment where Jarrett's car was still loaded. Shane just running the rim shot here, just trying to set up to get on the power and straighten his hands a little bit sooner.
Talk about a guy with a lot of experience.
Some great teams. I mean, we've got a lot of established teams. We've got like teams like Black Dog and TRG who have been here for a long time. You got Jimmy Fraser's group led here by Shane Lewis this weekend and Gar Robinson. And you got new teams coming in like Andretti Autosport. So very mixed bag in terms of the experience level, but they're all top notch.
Shane moving over to maybe trying to entice Andretti to do just that, turn in a bit early. But he made it work, didn't he? And that has really allowed Brabham to come up on the back here. Well, what a run he's putting in.
Yeah, really methodical, smart moves, nothing rash. And that's tough when you put in a great qualifying performance. And obviously, as Ryan alluded to, some sort of miscommunication.
Andretti way wide. He's going to be really slow here.
Yeah, really wide through turn one and just trying to gather it back up. May have got a bit of dirt on his tires as well. So just got to be careful here.
Look at that, Shane wanted to do something down into
Brabs, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Cuts
Brabs
across, and Nikolai is right there as well, sensing an opportunity.
Just under 18 minutes left here in this.
Andretti in super deep there.
Oh, he's struggling with grip.
Yeah, he really is. He's just charging these corners a little bit, asking too much.
Well, this is that stage of the race with the dig here, the times are going to really start plummeting, aren't they? I mean, looking at 48s, 49s, 50s.
Yep.
When everybody running the 46s to 48s previously.
Yeah, 2 to 3 seconds off the fastest laps of this race and nowhere near qualifying times. Cooper landed a qualifying lap at a 1:45.2, and his last lap right now is a 48.9. Only 4 seconds off. Oh, Andretti's really struggling for grip. He's in trouble.
Well, he shallowed it. Do you see how early he had to turn into the chicane? Yeah, it seems like he might be in a little bit of trouble. That may have slowed up Lewis, and here comes Brabham. Lewis tried to feint just a little bit to dissuade him, and Brabham having none of it, stuffing that Porsche down to the inside. Lewis going to try and ramp the outside. Here comes Elganian, and Lewis just able to stave off Elganian, but lost the spot to Brabham. What a great exchange that was, all precipitated with some issues potentially with the Andretti McLaren. Ryan, what are you hearing from Robin Pemberton?
Well, let's ask Robin about what Jared is experiencing. We've been watching him slip and slide around here the last few laps. What has he been saying about the handling of the car?
Well, we haven't been our best at this race. We were pretty good in first day and a half that we're here. Struggled a little bit this morning qualifying with this car, and we're struggling a little bit in the race. So we'll have to, you know, go on defense as much as we can and see what we learn when the race is over with.
So much of this for this year for Jared is new track, new car, new series, to some degree racing in GT4, but driving with a car that slips and slides around, he might be relatively at home with that given his background on dirt, right?
Yeah, he needs to get some of his sprint car experience out of his back pocket and take care of this thing for the rest, and you know, that way we got something to work with for tomorrow.
Hey, good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
That was a nice job of defense, as Pemberton said. We're going to have to go on defense, and he moved early to the right coming up. Oh, that big rotation, Kel. That whole platform is loose, isn't it?
Yeah, he's just really starting to struggle for grip, and but he's done a nice job of just placing the car exactly where it needs to be. As long as you're proactive in terms of picking that line. But you know that Brabham's able to roll big speed, and up front, look at this. Ian James, 15 minutes to go. This is what I suspected, that he was just managing things. And I don't see Spencer Pumpelly going with this group, as he's now 5 seconds back. So I think Spencer's struggling for balance in the Porsche. Ian James may be the man to beat here today.
Yeah, he is right there. Yeah, I mean, I could see it if Spencer was a couple of seconds adrift, but 5's an awful lot to be giving up. And one thing that Ian is awfully adept at is managing those tires. You talk about his racecraft, and that's part of it, isn't it? It's just that feel and knowing, nope, I go any quicker, I'm going to take too much out of it, and he is there now.
He's right there. But he's got a immense competitor right in front of him in Michael Cooper. He's got big shoulders, and he's going to have a big wide race car, I think, if Ian starts to look for an opportunity.
You were very serious about big shoulders, too.
He's a big boy. When
He
I met him
is.
the first time, I was like, you race cars? It was like a linebacker.
All right, well, we've been speculating on, is there something not quite right with the 66 Porsche, Ryan?
Yeah, I checked in with the TRG guys a couple of laps ago, and we started wondering what Spencer might be dealing with. And evidently, he feels the car is handling all right. He's just getting out-torqued out of the corners. And Calvin, you could talk a bit more about what that would feel like. But as far as the handling is concerned and the tire wear, Spencer's relatively happy, just not quite enough jump out of the corners.
Well, certainly the Panos may be able to do that, and certainly he may be seeing that from Drew Stavely behind. But I think it's more than that. I think it's balancing the race car and grip levels right now as to why he's feeling that deficit. And there we saw Matty Brabs looking to the inside as we see a battle up front as well. Action all around this racetrack.
Yeah, Brabs had a heck of a run. And and Andretti ends up off track. Brabs is through, and here comes Lewis. Is he going to have enough speed?
Look, Andretti's got dirty tires. He's got to be careful. When he hits the brakes, he's not going to have the grip he's used to. Lewis forces his way down the inside.
Ooh.
Good hard racing there. Alganian's right there as well as now they accelerate off. Does Jarrett know that that crossbow was right there? Probably not. Busy looking at the Camaro.
Here comes Gaples. Down to the inside of Alganian. A little bit tighter line. Alganian ought to have the speed and does.
But Jared Andretti just sliding dirt track in that car, as Ryan alluded to with his background. Doing a nice job, but I think Matty Brabs just forced the issue down in the turn 9 chicane, and Jarrett probably just asked for a little bit too much and just went straight on there for a moment.
That move puts Brabs up into 5th overall from dead last. Let's see it here, Cal.
Take a look. Ooh, it's pretty late.
That was.
Nowhere for Jarrett to go, and the endurance warranty McLaren there
Not
just
at
runs
all.
straight on. Now he's got dirt on his tires. I was concerned when he hits the brakes that he wasn't going to have the grip level there and run right over the back of that came. Another twitch by Jared Andretti.
He is hanging on right now. I wonder, I hate to take anything away from what's been a brilliant drive by Matt, but that got underneath and then he went just tracked all the way out to the curb, and it really didn't give Andretti anywhere to go.
Well, as he and James peaked, he certainly had the pace to catch Michael Cooper, put the move on for the lead. That was thwarted.
You know, the last lap, I thought we just caught it last second, but it looked like Cooper had an awkward moment through that chicane. And that with James as close as he was, I don't know whether it was precipitated by James trying something, but this time through, Cooper looked a lot more settled than usual through that chicane and was able to give himself a little bit more room here up through 1. 11 minutes to go.
Fascinating battle.
Isn't it?
Still a long way to go.
And I was going to get back to you on this with, you know, Ryan talking about the car. Said Spencer, the car felt good, everything's fine, getting out torqued a little bit. But you had talked about it. You could be in a thing where everything feels good, the lap time's just not there because of the grip scenario.
Yeah, and again, if you're just that slight delay in getting back to power, and the person behind you's able to, you know, power down and power up, that's going to feel like you're just getting out accelerated from sheer power coming off the corners. So
Tony Gaples got back around on Alganian. Well, what a little duel they have going here. And Burton, behind that group, Burton and Brynjolfsson in the battle for the last spot in the top 10, the bright yellow car in the background. So Gaples is through here in Alganian. Black Dog McLaren and the KTM Crossbow. See the MPM on the side, that's Marco Polo Motorsports. Lewis running wide.
well, we talked about this category and the level of racing that we've seen this year. I don't think that's in the classic of the year, but it's certainly some great battles throughout.
Yes, it is. I tell you, Tony just gets up on the wheel here. Look at it here. Is Lewis running wide? Oh, is Andretti again?
Still just asking for every ounce of performance there.
Boy, he turns in so early for that chicane.
I just don't think he's having to do that shallower approach. He just can't ask the car to do the hard cut, otherwise he may be losing the tail of the car. That just makes, when you're in the transitional corner like that chicane, it just makes the second part so much more difficult. There you see the front end, a lot of steering input through there as well. So he's probably lost the grip all the way around, losing the front end, losing the grip potentially off the rear coming off. Once you have a lot of steering input, a lot of wheel in the car, you're then going to light up the rear tires coming off the corner as James is closed back in on Michael Cooper.
And you wonder, looking at the lap times, the last couple of laps, it was a half second on that last lap that he was able to make up. And there's one of two options really that's playing out, isn't it? That either he's just saved his tires beautifully and that's not hurting him to do that, or every time he has to close back up on Cooper, he's taking more out of the tires.
Yes, and a lot of the question is, what has Michael had to do with his tires? Right. So it could have just been that maybe Ian has always had this little additional pace compared to the McLaren, and they're both in pretty good shape tire-wise, and it's all about the Panos maybe marginally quicker here today, even though Michael grabbed the pole.
And we talked about it earlier, that self-discipline. Has Michael driven a, the classic slow enough to lead? Preserve the tires. And if the guy's close, that's fine. Just don't hurt it. So we're into the final 8 minutes.
You can see there that turn 10 is still a critical corner. The guys really compromised their exit off of the chicane there to really get back over to the left to set up for that fast right-hander turn 10.
Well, we have been speaking virtually non-stop, Ryan, about tires on both of these cars up front. You got word on the Panos?
Yeah, it's something I've talked to the team about previously, and they really feel that this Panos does a great job with its tires over the course of a full race run, and actually perhaps better than the McLaren. So they're not surprised to see Ian in this position where he's closing here at the end. He's been driving with a lot of discipline and patience, and not a big surprise that he's going to be bringing the pressure to Michael Cooper here in the closing minutes.
A lot of the success of that team is that guy right there, too, isn't it?
Stefan Pfeiffer, he's such a nice man, great engineer, so much experience. There you see Matt Keegan, Preston Calvert. You'll see action a little bit later in the day for this team.
Knowing Stefan, he probably, I'm not sure where he lives. It's out in this area. He probably biked the whole way here.
Yeah.
He is one fit lad.
But just a fun guy.
Oh, truly.
He's the type of character that you'd love to have on your race team, and so much experience, and he certainly dials in a fast race car.
You talked to Preston Calvert, who, of course, is teamed with Matt Keegan in one of these Panos Avisano GTs in the Sprint X category, and Preston said he's the reason that I'm as quick as I am, period. He just works with him so well. Here's the margin. You just saw the 2 leaders. There's Pumpelly, as he's now 8 seconds back, but has opened up his margin just a little bit to Stavely. That's up to over 2 seconds now. Once again, threading that needle through that chicane, and boy, James so good through there this lap.
He's probably going to have to defend here into the brake zone. He goes to the middle of the road.
Is he?
Close enough. Give you an example, just looking at the lap times right now as we focus on these leaders on screen. Matty Brabs is up to the 5th position, but because he was fighting traffic to get through to that point, his fastest lap is a 149.1 compared to a 146.5 for Cooper. So 2.5 seconds slower. His car is not 2.5 seconds slower than Michael Cooper, but he never had the opportunity when the tires are at their peak to lay down a lap. It's going to really hurt his grid for tomorrow.
Oh, a little tire drop there by James, going to cost him a car length or 2. That's a really good point. I mean, with the immense degradation on the tires here, you've said it, opening 4 or 5 laps, that's when your time is going to come. And if you don't get it done and you're stuck in traffic.
The slower cars in the field, so he just couldn't get that lap down, and now he's got clean air. The tire performance isn't there for him.
Well, on the upside for the second race, he'll know what he needs to do to get through traffic.
That's right.
He's been brilliant at that today. 5 to go, 5 minutes here. Can Cooper hang on? Is James relentless?
Well, in races past, we've seen it, and in races past, we'd call it that Ian James will make that move, but we're dealing with a different kettle of fish in Michael Cooper up front.
Yes, we are. Yeah, he is something special. There's your point leader, Spencer Pumpelly. I'm sure a little bit frustrated, but he's the consummate pro, and he's doing what he needs to do to just make sure he keeps accruing some points here.
Came into this race 5 points ahead of Ian James and 8 points clear of Michael Cooper. So we're going to really tighten things up tonight.
Yeah.
If they maintain their current positions.
There's Stavely, who has just been superb today. Beautifully judged drive, aggressive at the start, was brilliant in qualifying to get him up front to start with, and is leading comfortably in the AM category. Second in AM is Gaples, who's 8th overall to Stavely's 4th. It's a great run by Tony. And Burton has snuck around on Brynjolfsson now, and Jeff Burton is 3rd in the AM category. And look at this, he is coming after that group in front.
Wow, big late run by Burton. Looks to the inside. Can he get it slowed down? Nice job.
Yeah, fortunately, Tony saw him.
Yeah, and also, fortunately, Alganian can roll big apex speed. He wasn't just parking it at the corner.
That's one of the things we've seen way, with great frequency, is a guy makes a move like that and goes so far to the inside that he's out of the line of sight of the mirror of the guy he's passing. And Tony saw flash a car and was able to open that wheel up. But boy, that was a great move. So Burton now up into 2nd in AM. Gaples 3rd, and Brynjolfsson 4th, and Clennon, who really found his form at CTMP. And Mark said this weekend, he said, I don't know what it was. He said, but I'm feeling a lot better in the car right now. He said, confidence is back a little bit. He's 5th in AM right now, having a good day.
He is having a good day. Battle up front still remains close. And that pass by Burton on Gaples was for position in the AM class. Almost even up to 2nd. Gaples, Brynjolfsson wants a little bit more, even though he didn't anticipate being here this weekend. Ian James laid on the brakes there, trying to figure out, how do I make a move on this guy in front of me who's had so much success at this racetrack.
I think Clennon's extra motivated. His wife Jamie is hosting a Wag Wine and Dine fundraiser. She has this thing called Racing for Paws, where she helps fund rescues for animals, and they're having a big soiree tonight, and I think Mark wants to come in there with a top 5 to brag about a little bit, because he is wheeling it. What a great run.
It is. It's good to see, because he's had some struggles this year, but nice to see him get. Oh, big move by Burton. It's going to be tight. Just gets it slowed down. That was a great job.
Yeah, and Alganian.
Commitment. And
whoa, that's Gaples. Gaples got caught out in that. I think Alganian thought there was going to be contact and went to avoid the potential, and that may have affected Gaples here. Oh, what a shame. Yep, a little damage on the back.
I'll tell you what, if it was Alan Brynjolfsson who got into him, remember they had contact at St. Petersburg. It's going to be a frustrated Tony after the race. Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, well, let's see what's unfolding here. Under a minute and a half to go. James getting a run.
Yeah, this is probably where he wishes it wasn't this configuration of racetrack. Yeah. It was more of a straight shot into this brake zone. Pinos is definitely quicker, but Michael just positioning the car perfectly. We talk about racecraft between the upper echelon in this class, and we've seen it right here.
All right. Last time up into the chicane, and there have been times we've seen the McLaren seems a little awkward in here. This time Michael, floats it a little bit.
It's going to be one more lap after this one, so time is running out for Ian James.
Yes.
Oh, he's close. They are close.
Cooper once again, moving over a bit.
Ian looking. Just total respect there.
Yes.
Michael just putting that car just in the right place to stop Ian from thinking about it. And Ian realizes the white flag waves for the final lap to go, that it would have been very risky and probable contact if he tried to go for that gap.
And Cooper also understanding that rule about defense versus blocking. If you're proactive and do it before the guy moves behind you, it's okay. When James showed the nose, you notice Cooper didn't move at all. I mean, he understands it. Oh,
big run by Ian James. He looks to the inside. Cooper protects. Can he slow it down enough? Ian James to the inside. This contact.
So that little puff of smoke. It is on.
Yeah, he just really timed that. Tried to surprise Michael Cooper. Cooper blocked him at the last moment. Now Michael's in deep. Hits that little bump. McLaren washes out wide. James in the Pinos trying to go on the power early.
Down to the bottom, he's got the run. Cooper's probably going to stay way right. Last time into turn 7, James Floats in, huge speed on the outside. Way wide, sideways.
Woo!
He tried it.
Little hip check there from Michael.
It's not over yet, though. James has been really quick through here. And it sure looked to me like Cooper's struggling to get this car turned into the right-hander coming up in the chicane. This is it. Cooper, that, oh, and he floats wide.
He can just cut and get the pound on. He's too far back, though, unfortunately. Cooper has the gap.
It looked like Cooper knew exactly what was going to happen with that McLaren on the turn in and just rotated the wheel the other way. Didn't lose a thing. Now it's a drag race. Out of this last turn, Panos, we know, has got some torque. Here it is. Last turn, through turn 12. From the pole, does he do it? McLaren and Cooper win. At Sonoma Raceway, Panos, a fighting second in the hands of Ian James. What a last lap duel that was by two of the very best. Here comes Spencer Pumpelly. A lot farther back than he'd like to be, but got the points he needed here today. And then Drew Stavely, 4th overall, big win in the AM category. And then dead last to 5th, Matt Brabham.
That was a great battle.
Wow, that Carlisle Industries CRP Racing Headstrong Porsche, what a run. But Cooper, he's a man who's used to winning, and I'm sure he's had great runs this year, but I'm sure this one's going to mean a lot.
I'll tell you what, though, Ian James, we talk about his racecraft. He hadn't shown that sort of speed through turn 3 and suddenly just hit that apex with that rolling speed and gave him run down into the brakes over turn 4. It's a late kind of move by Michael to try and protect a little bit of contact. I thought at one point he was just going to get on the power early enough to make the move, but not to be. First win for Cooper as a McLaren factory driver. He'll be very happy about that.
You bet.
And that's really going to tighten up this points chase going into tomorrow.
You know, we've seen that with, with James. He doesn't telegraph stuff, and when he does telegraph something, generally it's not what he's going to do. And he is just an absolutely remarkable driver, but boy, Cooper was up to the task, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think maybe anyone else, maybe Spencer would have been able to thwart him as well, but there's very few in this field that would have been able to protect from Ian James in that mode.
Well, I'll tell you, that last time through the chicane right here, when Cooper turned in and that car just started to flat slide, it was as if he knew exactly what was going to happen, because he just suddenly turned left, cut right across that curb. I mean, it was superb. What a great duel. That's what this is about.
It's a bit tasty.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, look at that. Number 1. That's big. It's big for this team, too, isn't it, Cal?
Yeah, it's big for this point in the championship. I mean, this is exactly the midpoint, round 8 of 15. And for these guys to be campaigning this car for the very first time, they didn't have a happy start. They really struggled with this car at St. Petersburg, for example, and to suddenly be right in the mix. I mean, there's a good chance that Michael could have the championship lead tomorrow night. It's very tight after today's results.
There he goes, hitting the brakes. And he will be out, and hopefully soon we will be hearing from him, from Ryan Marine, as the rest of the field makes its way in. There's Spencer in 3rd, coming in behind, and then Ian James in the Panos. I was talking to Michael earlier in the weekend, and we were talking about this track, and he just looked. He goes, I love a lot of tracks. He goes, but there's something about this place.
Well, his old teammate used to be Johnny O'Connell. I know he was winning races before he was with team with Johnny, but Johnny used to be based out here as well. And I know he's been watching. He congratulated on social media the pole position this morning. But hats off again to Ian James. He gave it 1,000,000%. That was a tough race.
All right. Well, Michael is out of the car. Looks like Ryan is ready as we take a look at the results. Cooper, James, and Pumpelly, the overall podium. Stavely, the win in AM, 4th overall. Brabham and Andretti hanging on to complete the top 5 in the pro category. And then you can see, interesting at the end, Brynjolfsson, Burton, Gaples in the AM category. And Clennon there as well. We had great battles everywhere around this racetrack.
We did. I thought Spencer was struggling a bit. That certainly showcases itself in terms of the gap at the end of the day. Stavely They're starting to learn the ropes with that Mustang as well. Remember, they switched over from the Ginetta from last year, so that's a good performance for them.
It is indeed. If you take a look at the rest of the field, and just again, a shout out to the number 30 of Erin Vogel. She's been running some Pirelli Trophy West racing and has been very good, and I think acquitted herself exceptionally well here this weekend in her pro debut. Let's get down to Ryan with our winner.
A lot of congratulations all around for Michael Cooper. What a race that was, those final few laps. How much of a handful, first of all, was your car, and then having to corral that with a guy like Ian in your rearview mirror?
I mean, first off, I have to say a huge thank you to McLaren, to Black Dog. I mean, we put this program together at the start of the year, and we've been just playing catch up, it seems like, the whole year a little bit. You know, 50-50, maybe BOP, and us learning the car. So hats off to all those guys. The race with Ian, I mean, I talked about it in our meeting before the race. I said, Ian just waits till the last 2 laps and then goes for it. He kind of saves his car, and he's got a little bit more than maybe he shows all the time. He only does 1 lap in qualifying and then parks it. So I knew that I needed a strategy for those last 2 laps. My car was a bit of a handful at that point, but I knew what I was looking for, and I was looking to get Ian offline and get him going through the marbles in a couple of places, and then he'd need to clean up his tires because there's a lot of marbles being created by the excessive tire wear here. So that ultimately worked out.
You've been banking solid results all year, but to get that breakthrough win, your first as a McLaren factory driver, what does that mean?
It means a lot to show the brass, Tim and Dan and all the guys at McLaren, that they made the right decision bringing me on. I like to validate that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm thrilled.
Congratulations. Good luck race 2.
Thank you again.
A bit of emotion there, I think, from that young man, and well earned indeed. What a drive! We saw that again, that exchange over in turn 7 when he indeed got him off in the marbles and the like. But then again, that run through the chicane that last time, Cal, just the way that McLaren was sliding and the way he dealt with it, that's why he's a factory driver.
Yeah, when we saw that in replay just then, I'll be curious to speak to Ian and just see if he was waiting too much, whether he thought Michael was going to have more of a moment, because it looked like Ian didn't get through the chicane very well. And with the slide by Michael, you would have thought that Ian would have been able to pounce and get the power down a little bit sooner, but it's like there was a little delay there for the Panos as well.
Yeah, it was great. Now, speaking of great, a tremendous drive to the AM win. Drew Stavely, Ryan.
Yes, very aggressive right off the start, and then you had the car behind you to take it to the finish. Drew Stavely, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. That was an awesome race. A lot of fun. Like I said, the start was pretty wild. Shane, I believe, one of the Camaros, and I, we touched doors a little bit going up through turn 2. Came out of it okay, and ended up, I think 4th overall or so. And it was a good race. We had good pace the whole time. I was up there with some of the best, and that's all you can ask for.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, he earned it. And I mean, it all started with an absolutely superb qualifying run that he put in. But at the start from the pole, it was Cooper and the McLaren off to the lead, and James slotting into 2nd, Spencer in 3rd.
There's that little moment that Stavely alluded to, little touch with Shane Lewis.
Everybody survived, and at that point, that lead trio, along with Stavely, were able to go out. You can see some of the racing behind him. But then this moment, Cal.
Yeah, Quinlan down to the inside on Gar Robinson. Just didn't leave each other enough racing room coming off the corner. We do not understand that there was any penalty involved in that incident, but I'm sure it'll be discussed afterwards. And then a big move there by Matty Brabs, making a move on a similar Cayman. Actually, it's not similar. It's the newer model of Alan Brunjolfsson.
Yeah, he was just on the prowl up from dead last and ended up with a top 5 finish overall with a huge charge through the field. It was simply brilliant stuff. And in the last lap, Panos and James throwing everything he could at Cooper and the McLaren, running a little wide there. And that was enough. Cooper able to hang on and brought it home for the win. But that's the first of the doubleheaders. This class, the sprint category, gets to do it all again tomorrow.